Hello children. Today we start with our Science 1 lesson number 8, Metallurgy. We have again chosen this lesson as we are already familiar with metals and non-metals. So this is our Science 1 lesson number 8, Metallurgy. We come to our first slide. In this you will see that the substances, whatever substances you see around, these substances are either elements or they are compounds or they are mixtures. Okay, so when I say element, what does an element mean? That the substance is made up of same particles. Like suppose if I give you a piece of gold in your hand, so all the particles, all the atoms are of same type, are of gold. So such a substance is called as element. So substances are either elements. We'll come back to the classification in detail again. Let's see the next type of substance, that is compounds. So next type of substance is compounds. Compounds are made up of two or more atoms. Such substances are called as compounds. For example, I say water. Water is H2O. So H2O water means it's made up of hydrogen and oxygen, and it's chemically bonded. Means you cannot separate oxygen and hydrogen by any physical process. So I tell you this is water, give me hydrogen and oxygen from this. I have to do some chemical process. You cannot separate it by a physical process. So that substance is called as a compound. Okay, when I say a physical process, means if you boil water, the liquid state will change into steam. Water will change into steam, but still it is H2O only. So a compound is made up of two or more atoms. Such substances are called as compounds. One more example is salt, NaCl. Salt is made up of atom of sodium and an atom of chlorine. So you cannot separate them by any physical process. I hit the sodium, means if I hit the pieces of salt, or I boil them, or I do any other physical process, I cannot separate the compound. So I cannot separate sodium and chloride. So such substances are called as compounds. Then we come to mixtures. Substances are, the third type is mixture. So mixture is what? For example, a very simple example is the bhel, what we make. Bhel is a mixture. We add all the ingredients in that, and we can separate the ingredients physically. For example, I prepared bhel, I don't like coriander in that. I can remove the coriander. I don't like chilies. I can remove the chilies from that. I can remove the onion. I don't like tomatoes. I can remove the tomatoes. So a mixture is such a substance in which the components can be separated by a physical process. I can remove. So physically you can do any process and you can separate the components of a mixture. Now example, milk also can be separated. We can remove the fats from the milk. We can remove the water content from the milk. So mixture. Blood also is made up of several other cells. So like for example, blood is made up of WBC, RBCs, platelets, plasma. Yes, then we can separate these WBCs, RBCs and platelets by doing centrifugation. It's a physical process. Centrifugating means, the centrifugation is a machine where you can put the blood in a test tube and it is centrifuged. So what happens, the components can be separated using the further processes. So what is a mixture basically is in which you can separate the components physically. Okay, so these are just for introduction. We come to our main part, that is elements. Now you can see under the elements there are three again there is a classification. Elements can be metals, they can be non-metals, or they can be metalloids. Now when I say metals, We are going to study all this only in this lesson. So let us just take some few examples and move forward. So if I say metals, gold is a metal. Okay. Aluminium is a metal. So these are metals. We'll see the properties later on. Now, metalloids. Metalloids, example silicon and arsenic. I've written the examples. We'll come to it. So metals are some properties are there. We are going to see that. So metals are hard. They can produce sound. So all these are properties of metals. Come to non-metals. Non-metals like some things like carbon, then sulfur. Okay. Then if I say oxygen, I say hydrogen. So these are called as hydrogen gas. If I say oxygen gas, chlorine gas, these are non-metals. Means they exist in the non-metals form. So for example, when I say gold, gold is a metal, but it is an element. Are you understanding? Element means what? All particles are same. So gold has all gold particles. If I say non-metal, oxygen gas. Okay, oxygen is a non-metal. If I say oxygen gas, this is a jar of oxygen. Come on. So in that, all the particles will be only of oxygen. Are you understanding? So that is the basic thing, that is elements. Elements means the substance which are made up of only same type of atoms. So gold has all gold particles, but it is a metal. Non-metals means, suppose I give you oxygen gas. Oxygen gas is again a non-metal, but it is having all oxygen particles in it. So that is metals and non-metals. We are coming to the property in the next slide. Then what are metalloids? Metalloids show the property of metals also and non-metals also. Such substances, such elements are called as metalloids. So we'll see detail in the next slide. Now first today we are going to study physical properties of metals. Physical means which you can see, which you can feel externally, these. So physical properties of metals. So first property is state. Generally all metals are solid in state. Okay, now they are solid. Now if I say, there are still some exceptions in that, that is mercury and gallium, okay, are in liquid state. These are metals only because all the other properties are of metals. See the lesson now. But they are in liquid state. Mercury, mercury is in put in the thermometer. It is in a liquid state. Gallium, these are all metals, but they are in liquid state. But generally all metals are solid. You can imagine gold, silver, aluminium, iron, these all are in solid state. So next property is luster. Luster is shine. When you, all the metals have a shine, even if they are little bit, they become dull, the shine becomes dull. If you scrub them, again the shine returns back. So metals have a luster, we call that, means shine. Then third property is malleability and fourth property is ductility. These two properties you can remember together. Children, malleability is the property that metals can be converted into thin sheets. Okay, now aluminium, if you know aluminium, you get aluminium sheets, you get, can is made, your Pepsi cans and all. So the can is a thin sheet. So that is turned into a cylindrical can. So malleability, all metals have, they can be converted into thin sheets, that is malleability. What is ductility? Duct basically means a wire like structure, wire. So all metals can be converted into thin wire also. As they can be converted into sheets, they can be converted into wire. So ductility is the fourth property. So state, luster, malleability, ductility, these are the four properties. Let's see the next property, that is conduction of heat. All metals are good conductors of heat. Okay, all metals, they conduct heat, they absorb heat. Okay, and they pass it forward. So conduction of heat. So all metals are good conductors of heat. They get heated up, that is conduction of heat. So silver and copper are the best conductors of heat. So children, in olden days, usually the people used to cook, prepare food in copper utensils. Yes, silver was used for serving and all. So that time it was might be less expensive, but as they were the best conductors, food gets cooked fast in copper utensils. So copper and silver are the best conductors of heat. This can be asked in name the following, and also we are learning it as a special point over here. Then mercury and lead are poor conductors of heat. Okay, so mercury and lead are poor conductors of heat. Then, conduction of electricity. All metals are good conductors of electricity. They can conduct electricity. Electricity can be passed through them. So, conduction of electricity. So, copper wiring. You see, all our electrical appliances, our electrical wiring at home is made up of copper. So, copper is means all metals are good conductors of electricity. Now children, as a little of extra knowledge, we'll see that the substances which do not conduct electricity are called as insulators. Example, wood, okay, which do not conduct electricity, rubber. Then the PVC. What is PVC? Polyvinyl chloride. Our textbook has this full form, so we will learn and keep. PVC is the coating around that wire. Electrical wire has a coating that is a plastic only, so it is called as PVC, polyvinyl chloride. So they are insulators. The substances which conduct electricity are conductors, which do not conduct electricity are insulators. So we saw 2 points: conduction of heat, conduction of electricity. Now we come to the next point, that is hardness. All metals are hard. Generally they are hard. You see iron, you see aluminium, okay, silver, copper. Now gold is somewhat soft. Yes children, pure gold, 24 karat gold is somewhat soft. If you have any ornaments and all, you can see they bend easily. So hardness differs. Means all metals are not that hard only. Hardness differs. So sodium and potassium are such metals that they are so soft that we can cut them with knife. So sodium and potassium are so soft, can be cut with the knife. These are all extra things you have to remember. If it is asked somewhere in the name the following, fill in the blanks, anywhere such question. Okay, so hardness. Next properties, melting point and boiling point. So when you start melting, or when you melting a metal, so they have high melting point and boiling point. Yes, of course, because the temperature needed to melt them, they get heated up and all, they pass electricity, that is okay, but they themselves melting is very high. Yes, of course, that's why we can use them for cooking. Yes, otherwise what would happen if I was using a copper utensil? It would have a low melting point, it would melt, it would change its shape only, so that is not desirable. So melting point and boiling point of metals is very high. They have a high melting point and boiling point. And children, the special point again is tungsten. Tungsten is a metal. W is the symbol of tungsten. Wolfram, again a Latin name. Tungsten has the highest melting point, that is 3422 degree Celsius. Such highest melting point, 3400. So what happens, that has a very high melting point, and it is used in the that old traditional bulbs what we had, that thin wire would come of that electric bulb through which the current would pass and it would illuminate. Because the thin wire would get, the current would pass, it would get heated up, and then that would illuminate, the gases inside would get illuminated, and we would get the light. So that thin wire is also made up of tungsten. Why? Because that wire has to conduct so much of high electricity, still it doesn't melt. Only sometimes if there is a high voltage, it would crack and all, we would say the bulb is gone, means the wire is broken. So that tungsten wire, has the highest melting point, that is 3422 degrees Celsius. Now, next and the last property is sonorous. Sonorous means metals produce sound when they are hit. So a school bell or any of the, you can silver ka, we use that anklets, pinjan we say, yes, they are made up of silver. So anything, the metals, when they are hit, they produce a sound. So that is the last property, that is sonorous. So children, today we saw the 9 properties of metals. Starting we saw that substances can be elements, compounds or mixture. Then we saw metals, elements can be metals, non-metals or metalloids. And now we came to physical properties of metals. We saw the 9 properties. You revise them again. Tomorrow we'll continue with the physical properties of non-metals. Okay. So till then, thank you.